Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, South Africa still faces suits from the tobacco industry, even after announcing the lifting of bans on the sale of alcohol and cigarettes as the country prepares to downgrade its coronavirus lockdown to level 2 on Tuesday. Also in Somalia, at least 5 soldiers are killed in an attack on a military base, a day after 16 people die in a similar assault on a hotel in Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab extremists have claimed responsibility for the violence. And Senegal's first female professional surfer is helping a new generation of girls to ride on the Atlantic's waves, even as she keeps pursuing her own Olympic dreams. But first, South Africa is braced to drop bans on the sale of alcohol and tobacco as the country downgrades its lockdown to level 2. That's due to happen on Tuesday as the number of COVID-19 cases in the country decline. Although a nighttime curfew and mandatory mask wearing will stay in place, conditions for entertainment, worship and domestic travel will be eased. However, fearing the possibility of another prohibition, the tobacco and alcohol industries are still pursuing a suit against the government's ban of their products. MC Ferreira tells us more.
Tomorrow in the Pretoria High Court, the government's legal counsel will face 120 wine farms who are seeking a declaratory order. And in the case of the tobacco industry, this matter is now reached the level of the Supreme Court of Appeal. Legal experts think there's a fair chance that the judges will find that this ban was never rational in law to begin with. It wasn't based on sound science, and that the minister who signed off on the regulation, in fact, exceeded her powers. But what weighed perhaps more strongly than the legal pressure was the sheer economic cost of this twin prohibition. It's been estimated that the government lost in 3 months in tax revenue more than the $4.3 billion that's borrowed from the IMF to weather this crisis. So it seems that from a financial point of view, it was simply no longer tenable to continue along this path.
Overall, where does South Africa stand at the moment in its fight against coronavirus? Is the country out of the woods yet?
Not really, because we're getting close to 600,000 infections, so that's a very high toll. Almost 12,000 people have died. But this move to alert level 2 was informed by the fact that the recovery rate has improved dramatically. We were about 48% last month. This has now gone up to 80%. And the 3 provinces that were really the flashpoint seems to have now surpassed the peak. But very crucially, the number of patients who need hospitalization has declined dramatically. So we will now see, we're still in the heart of winter, and we'll see what trajectory it takes as the economy eases up, or these restrictions are lifted in the coming days. And the Minister of Health Special Advisor has said he in fact expects a slight surge over the next 10 days as the economy is opened up further.
MC Ferreira there for us. Now, across the continent, travel has seen a huge downturn because of the effects of coronavirus restrictions. Morocco's seen an uptick in COVID-19 cases, and with borders still closed to foreign visitors, the tourism sector is at all but a standstill. Our correspondent sent us this report.
Due to the pandemic, Morocco stands to lose an estimated 10 million tourists this year. So far, tourist centre Marrakesh has been the hardest hit. It's the morning briefing at this upscale hotel. The general manager here has been able to keep on all 150 employees for now.
On a eu cette audace de réouvrir. Aujourd'hui, on bricole avec 15-20% d'occupation. C'est bien sûr très loin de ce qu'il faut pour couvrir la totalité de nos charges. De très nombreux hôteliers n'ont pas pu prendre cette décision, certainement faute d'activité, faute de visibilité.
In 2019, the occupancy rate of hotels here was around 90%. Measures like closed borders along with limitations on movement within Morocco have decimated the city's economy. Despite its lively reputation, Marrakesh now lies quiet. Public health measures have forbidden nightclubs to reopen, and 70% of around 1,500 hotels are shut.
Sans l'ouverture des frontières, on ne sait pas comment on peut finir l'année, ni comment commencer l'année prochaine. Si jamais il n'y a pas d'ouverture, là on va vers les fermetures d'établissements certainement. Parce que personne, j'estime, ne peut continuer sur ce rythme, c'est impossible.
The sudden end to tourism has set off a chain reaction in the economy, with hotel and restaurant workers, estate agents, suppliers, transporters and local small businesses all equally threatened.
Je pense vraiment aujourd'hui que le modèle va changer complètement et on aura de moins en moins un tourisme de masse. Il faudrait qu'on se dirige beaucoup plus vers un tourisme de qualité qui va privilégier les petits groupes, les petits ensembles et surtout les petites structures.
In the meantime, the legendary Jama El Fanar Square has never been so empty. According to official forecasts, the economic impact of the ongoing pandemic could be felt right into 2023.
At least 5 soldiers were killed in an attack on a military base in Somalia on Monday. Al-Shabaab militants claimed responsibility for the car bombing and gun raid in Guf Gadoud in the southwest. Now, that happened a day after 16 people were killed in a similar assault on a hotel in Mogadishu. Nicholas Shumat tells us more.
Al-Shabaab jihadists targeted the beachfront elite hotel. It is owned by Abdullahi Mohamed Noor, a lawmaker and former finance minister. The hotel is popular with government officials and members of the Somali diaspora. The attack was particularly violent and survivors were shocked.
waxaan la filanayna inaa ka dhacay alxamdulillaah dadna waa ku dhinteen dadaa ku baaba'ay dadna wali gudaha ku jiraan dadna way soo badbaadeen ha loo soo duceeyaa dhahay.
The authorities said 200 people were rescued from the building. Security forces took 4 hours to regain control of the hotel from the 5 jihadists.
Totally, that has been killed today, passed away in the accident. In the attack was 16, 11 of Somali civilians and 5 of terrorists. The other remaining was 13 wounded or injured persons.
Analysts said the jihadists view these hotels that belong to politicians as an extension of the government. Al-Shabaab is linked to Al-Qaeda and was driven out of the capital Mogadishu in 2011, but still carries out sporadic attacks. These have been on the rise these last 2 months. The last major one took place in December 2019, when 81 people were killed after the jihadists detonated a vehicle packed with explosives.
Sudanese demonstrators took to the streets of Khartoum on Monday to mark the 1-year anniversary of the transitional government that took over after the ouster of long-time leader Omar Bashir last April. Police fired tear gas on crowds who are calling for faster reforms from their interim leaders, who they accused of having reneged on promises included in the constitutional declaration that was signed last August. Protesters are also calling for justice for those killed during the demonstrations against Bashir and military rule. Mauritius says that it is going to seek compensation from the owner of the Japanese carrier that leaked more than 1,000 tons of oil into the island's waters at the end of July. Tokyo is sending a second cleanup team later this week to help with the response. The MW Wakashio ran aground on a coral reef and began oozing oil more than a week later, drawing criticism of both the Japanese and Mauritian governments for not having moved quickly enough. Conservationists say that the damage to the marine environment of Mauritius will be long-lasting.
The true damage and the long-term damage is yet something that needs to be assessed. For example, what is going to be the long-term impact on coral reefs, on seagrass beds, on fisheries, but also on the extremely rare birds, the endemic birds such as the pink pigeon, which is well-renowned, and also the Mauritius olive white-eye, Mauritius fodes, rare reptiles that we've been trying to conserve for the past 40 years.
Now, Kaju Sambe says that a lack of role models drove her to take the plunge and learn to surf. The Olympic hopeful is Senegal's first female professional in the discipline, and she's now helping a new generation of girls to hone their skills riding the waves of the Atlantic off Dakar.
Kaju Sambe's passion for surfing and determined struggle against the cultural norms of her region led her to the top of her game. She's Senegal's first and only female pro surfer. Now, the Olympic hopeful is inspiring a generation of young girls to challenge the patriarchal values of a country where women are expected to get married, take care of household duties and look after children. Before she started surfing, Sambe would go kayaking off the coast of Dakar in the fishing village where she was born.
Avant, j'ai commencé à faire du kayak et souvent, je pars avec mon kayak à côté des personnes qui font du surf tout le temps. Et je vois tout le temps les personnes qui partent surf. J'ai dit, mais où sont les filles qui surfent? Et j'ai dit, mais pourquoi pas d'aller pas surfer, représenter mon country, représenter l'Afrique, représenter le Sénégal en tant que blogueur, en tant que fille, parce que j'ai jamais vu une noire fille qui allait surfer.
Sambe's talent was discovered by Rhonda Harper, the founder of the US-based surf camp Black Girls Surf. Harper then asked her to come to California to train with her. Now Sambe trains young girls to surf at a BGS school in Senegal. She says her family held her back from surfing for 2.5 years. She encourages her students to ignore the disapproving voices.
Je le conseille tout le temps de ne pas écouter les personnes, de fermer les oreilles, de concentrer, aller tout droit, de concentrer de leur entraînement.
Black Girls Surf started looking for women surfers in Africa as they were so underrepresented in professional surfing. Today, BGS have 4 schools in Africa, in Ghana, Liberia, Senegal and Sierra Leone. They are currently working on a 5th one in Ivory Coast.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.